My last good Christmas was in 1995 when I was 10 years old. My dad got me Yoshi's Island for the Super Nintendo, and what made it my last good Christmas wasn't really the game itself, but the innocence and purity of the game that I got to experience at a very difficult time in my life, and that feeling to this day I still haven't been able to replicate. And that's what these red pillars, these trad cons, and modern dating advice miss when they dismiss modern video games. Nowadays in our culture, there's been a lot of attention on the problem of young men becoming far right, falling behind economically with women, leaving the corporate world, now going into college. There's a general sense that young men are retreating from public life as a whole. And a lot of things get scapegoated for this issue. And one of the big ones, which unfairly gets a lot of blame, is video games. Especially with a lot of the backlash coming from the conservative side. The thing that puzzles me more so is that nobody ever asked the question of why. That is, why are men retreating into video games so much? And I think it's a very uncomfortable question for people to ask and vindicates video games as a medium. Look, I've been a gamer my entire life. I remember getting our first Nintendo at 3 years old back in the 80s, and since then I've been practically raised by Nintendo. But even with this growing fame and popularity, there is a disproportionate lack of prestige and respect given to games as a medium. And I think in the culture wars we live in now, there's been a lot more scapegoating of video games being a big problem with men and being a big factor in why they're not able to launch their lives and become successful. Because a lot of the criticism, I think, is coming from guys who were never really that into video games. They never played a lot of video games, and they probably didn't even need to. Which begs the question, why would anybody need to? Because it sounds like a stupid question. But there are some significant reasons for this. A big reason is video games have clear rules. I mean, they have very explicit systems. You do this, this happens. This is the way the game works. This is how you beat the game. These are the things you can do. These are the things you can't do. These are the areas you can go. They're the areas you can't go. There's no real randomness like there is in the real world. We live in a very chaotic time, even culturally, because, real life has always been crazy and always will be random. But I think we've actually made it worse as a society with our cultural values, the way that things have evolved morally. And unlike the world that the boomers lived in, there are no rules anymore, especially with dating. I mean, dating has no rules. I mean, there used to be courtship. There used to be a standard. And now with online dating and Tinder and all this stuff, it's anarchy. There are no rules. Some people say it's okay to text after 3 days. Some say it's not. Who knows? But video games aren't like that. The rules are very clear. You can do this, you can't do that. This is how you play the game. This is how you beat the game, by following the rules. Life used to be like that, certainly in the boomer era, where if you followed the rules, you go to college, you get a good job, you slick your hair back and put a pack of cigarettes in your rolled up white t-shirt sleeve, and you run a switchblade comb through your hair, and you pick up Sally and take her to the car hop. She'll probably marry you, and you'll have a bunch of kids. You get a job at the factory, and you could buy a second house. Life used to be like that. Our parents and our grandparents, by and large, grew up in a world where there were rules that you followed, and if you followed those rules, you beat the game. Now it's not like that. Certainly not for millennials, definitely not for Gen Z. I mean, the rules we were given were go to college, take on student loans. It doesn't matter because you'll get a job and pay it back. You'll be able to buy a house and you can have a family and blah, blah, blah. Then that didn't really happen for most of us. The average age of home buyers is 40 now, and people are delaying life, especially now with Zoomer men. They have it even worse because now with all the DEI initiatives, women are taking more of the jobs than they are, especially for entry-level roles in the corporate world. Young men are being more and more excluded from all these different domains. I mean, there was an article called The Great Feminization that talks about that. And these institutions are being shaped more by women than men, and they're being shaped to exclude men specifically because of that. But games don't have that. Look, games don't change the rules halfway through your $100,000 student loans. Games don't change the rules and introduce DEI efforts or make you change the gender of your character, or else you lose your save file and the game deletes off your hard drive. The games have clear rules, and they don't really change for the most part. And if you follow the rules, you can get better at the game and can become an expert at it. You can't really do that in regular life anymore, in almost any domain, especially for men who are trying to just excel in the world. Another reason why is video games, unlike real life, still have feedback loops. What I mean is, when you fail at a game, you could figure out why and how you failed. In real life nowadays, especially for young men and things like dating and finding a job, if you fail at getting hired at a job, you're not going to find out why. No one's going to tell you what you did wrong. They can't, because HR departments are risk averse to possibly getting sued for discrimination. Nobody wants to stick their neck out. Everyone wants to cover their asses, CYA. And nobody has the courage to actually say the truth and say, hey, you didn't get the job because you didn't shower that week. So maybe next time take a shower a week before your job interview. Something like that. But you don't get that kind of feedback. You get rejected from a role, it's always this boilerplate. Oh, thank you for applying. We decided not to move forward this time. Blah, blah, blah. Have a nice day. Smiley face. Buy our product. There's no humanity left. Another reason why is there's no more room to fail anymore in society. Because especially with dating, we don't give men the room to fail anymore, because there's no more grace given to men due to the Me Too movement, due to feminism, due to TikTok now, where men are just too afraid to even approach anymore because they don't want to get embarrassed online and get made fun of by a bunch of random internet strangers because you did something goofy or what have you. And video games don't have that problem because games are designed knowing that each player is going to fail. I mean, you're expected to die and lose and retry over and over again. And that's how men learn. And instead, modern society punishes failure instead of teaching from it. And not just dating. Look at the corporate world too. There's no real room for risk-taking and innovation and trying new things. It's always just, put your head down, do what you're told, do what's safe, and don't rock the boat too much. And in that environment, men don't thrive because we need to take risks. We need room to fail. We need to try things because that's how we learn. And it's very easy to do that in the video game world where you're constantly dying and coming back to life again and trying new things, and then you get better. You learn from that. Games don't punish you for that. But the real world does. If you don't give men that room to fail, they're not going to man up and face adversity and fail because the consequences are too great. It's like you don't get it right the first time, don't even bother trying. I would say the last reason why games have become a retreat from the modern world, but this I think applies for both men and women who play games, is that video games still have beauty in them, and the modern world really doesn't. I don't mean just beautiful women. I'm talking about physical beauty outside. I'm talking about buildings, architecture, roads, gardens, parks. You look at any city in the West, everything is just big blocky stores. Everything looks more drab and colorless and gray. There's no texture to anything. A European city in the 1800s is more beautiful than an upper middle class suburb in America today because there's beauty in the light posts. There's beauty in the bridges. Like, people took the time to make things look good so that when you looked at it, you went, wow, that's amazing. Modern life isn't like that. Everything's just ugly and drab. Look at our stores. Look at our art even. I mean, it looks drab. But video games are not like that. You look at the environments in some of these games, I mean, these developers put so much effort into making things look good, even inconsequential things that most people won't even pay attention to because they care. They actually give a shit about what people are looking at. Look at Dark Souls 3, look at Irithyll, look at Anor Londo, look at Lothric Castle. It looks incredible. Look at Elden Ring. They made this big, vast world and these cities and these mountains and these landscapes because they want things to look good. When things look good, people feel good. I mean, it's really that simple. When things look good, people feel good. Even older video games. I mean, even with the technological constraints of 8-bit and 16-bit games, these developers, they made the best of the sprites they had. They used colors. They used sprites to, create little animations and use as much as they could to create the illusion or the appearance of real life and make it look beautiful as much as they can. That's why even today, a lot of the pixel art is still popular, this whole retro style in indie games as well, because even with its technological constraints, it still looks good and it still evokes something in you that you don't just get from looking at a painting. You look at modern art nowadays, you can literally just scribble on a canvas and then call it art. I mean, there's no skill involved in that. You look at some scribbly thing that some rich artsy progressive in Manhattan is paying $30,000 for. You look at that, something like that, it's like, what does that do? Like, what does that say about the person who made it? What does that say about you that you think this is beautiful? Like, it's just ugly and stupid. And that's just kind of how almost everything is nowadays. There's a really good Instagram by a girl called The War on Beauty where she talks a lot about beauty and aesthetics and how it's lacking in the modern world. If you're interested in that, I'll put a link in the description. And that's the thing. Games, more than real life, have preserved traditional values in a way that modern life simply hasn't. Mastery, get good. Merit, You deserve to get good. Persistence. Keep trying to get good. Fair loss. You died because you didn't get good. So I think the solution to this is a very tough one. And it's not just men should stop gaming, but I think the real solution to this is we need to create a society where men especially are mentored and can get feedback on their shortcomings. We need to create a society where the rules exist and they're steady. That's why a lot of young men are turning to traditional movements like the Latin Mass in the Catholic Church or becoming far right or whatever it is, because those ideologies have rules to them and the rules are very clear and they don't change. And that's attractive to men. So I think that one thing we need to do as a society is we need to have clear-cut rules in the different areas of our world. In the workplace, in dating, we need to create a world where men especially can get honest feedback on their shortcomings, whether it be creating a better dating culture where there isn't this animosity, there isn't this ghosting, where people can just be honest and say, hey, I'm not interested, or you should have brushed your teeth that month, I could see your gums. And we also have to be more forgiving of failure. I mean, look, especially in dating in the Me Too movement, I mean, this has been a big factor because now you see all these women on TikTok complaining that men don't approach anymore and men don't take initiative because the room to fail was taken away from them because of Harvey Weinstein. And until those things change, I don't think you're ever going to see this mass exodus from video gaming ever. But that's the video. What do you guys think? Do you think all these gamers just need to man up and take responsibility? Or do you think we all need to just become incels? Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, or you're